So this is our Black Panther
Yeah.
Wakanda Forever spoiler-free section. So yeah, Black Panther 2 just dropped this weekend to a massive $180 million opening in America, $330 million worldwide.
I saw.
Obviously a massive
Yeah,
juggernaut
I
hit.
saw The Rock congratulated them, saying, it's.
Yes, The Rock was very nice about that. Obviously,
I do love he signed it.
And-
Black Adam. He signed it. He signed it. Hashtag Black Adam.
Yeah, I love the fact that in one weekend, this destroyed Black Adam's box office, pretty much caught up to what it has now in one weekend. So that's funny.
I know that's.
But yeah,
anyway.
so Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Of course, this is a massive juggernaut film that's kind of obviously had a lot of problems in development because of sadly Chadwick Boseman passed away before this film was even. I think the story was written.
Yeah, because Ryan Coogler.
If the script was finished.
Well, Ryan Coogler did say that the last conversation he ever had with Chadwick Boseman was messaging him saying that's the first draft of the script done. Do you want to read it?
Okay.
And people were saying very upsettingly. I think Chadwick knew at the time that he wasn't going to make it because it was only like a few weeks before. So Chadwick never actually read the script because I don't think he wanted to know what could have been. So so they had the rough script in place before Chadwick Boseman's death, and they discussed that there was a few bits of similarities in it. Where it does kind of focus on the nation of Wakanda having troubles. Having troubles kind of getting to the how do we describe it? Because what happens in this film? Well, so Wakanda, it's following on from the events of Endgame and Infinity War and the first Black Panther, where they have opened their borders up to the world. Yeah. In a sense, so that's what they say they've done, and then the only kind of thing is that there's a couple of outreach programs, and they're like. Not much else, it's weird. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to think how I was saying it here because when I'm thinking about this, I'm questioning
this story is now obviously it has to deal with Chadwick Boseman's death.
Yes.
They have not recast Black Panther, so the film obviously opens where his character passes away, and then we have to deal with the aftermath of that.
They do deal with that really well. I think that was quite well done.
I think so too. And then of course, a year passes, and so they're still reeling over the death of their lost king, but simultaneously they're under pressures from the UN and the United States and the rest of the world who, like you said, they haven't done enough with their outreach programs. They aren't actually giving enough, but
they want to do stuff with
Wakanda's actually
vibranium. They want to be like, let's give this vibranium out.
Yeah, and now Wakanda's actually doing the opposite of what they said at the end of the first film. Is actually they're kind of staying confined and not doing what they said. But now simultaneously there's now a magic machine out there that can now detect vibranium, and of course this raises the suspicions and the threat that is Namor and his is it Atlantis?
No,
what was his site called again?
It began with like a T.
I know they can't call it Atlantis because of
or something. So obviously they go for more what was it, kind of tribalist, Aztec-y, kind of like a rebranding of it, because obviously it is kind of like Atlantis in the comics, and he's just a white man with wings in his feet, which so I think it's I liked how they rebranded the Atlanteans.
Yeah, so that's kind of plot, and then obviously the whole plot kind of goes into a whole geopolitical kind of conflicts thing. There's also the introduction of Ironheart, and and also simultaneously this is a film about grief and them trying to deal with the multiple characters dealing with the loss of Black Panther. So it's this very, very big kind of bloated film. It's 2 hours 40 minutes long, and
it is really long.
Kyle, what are your overall thoughts?
Right. Okay. So, let's jump in here because there's a lot. For me, there's a lot to say. One, we have to address it. It was a very long film. There was a lot of segments that I would have probably cut out. Yes. No disrespect to Martin Freeman, but you would be cut out. What's her name?
What's her name?
Valentina character's name or something like that.
Valentina, just get. She's so annoying. Just why is she in this film? She's here. I don't care.
The thing is, right, when I saw her again, I was like, oh, "Who are you?" I don't feel she's been
They
so much of a
still
presence at the moment that she's meant to like her presence
like,
is meant to.
oh,
It's not
wow,
like Nick
she's in
Fury
this
showing
film,
up.
yeah.
I'm not gonna go.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
it's what's your face? You're that woman who
Valentina, I
showed
guess, yeah.
Yelena a photo of Hawkeye and went, "Oh, go hunting."
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Yeah.
right. Let me think about this film. So what I would say overall is, I more or less I enjoyed it visually. I think that
Oh, really?
well,
Okay.
most of the scenes there are some like sorry, cinematically shot wise, like see when they're
Right,
on
okay.
location, like
Yeah.
there's
it looks
that
good.
great shot where it's in the trailer. Chadwick Boseman's love interest in the first one, Nakia. Like, see when she's
Yeah.
on the beach of that Aztec, and there's like that kind of pan round
That does
shot.
look good.
That's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like they clearly did use some sets, which were really good because there's a
Yes.
scene that you see in the trailer where there's almost like an attack on Wakanda, and there's all the water coming through the streets.
Yeah, that looks good.
Which the sets are great, but then there's a slight issue of the green screen at the back. Like it's so very obvious
the
that there's like
blending
a
of it's not
there,
great,
you know.
yeah.
Where I think that's maybe where you could probably, and I know what I know there's issue with the filmmaking, but I think scenes like that where there's a nice set, that's where that volume could probably come in handy. Having the giant LEs scene, because if you see this film, you'll be sitting there going, "Oh, this is quite cool with the sets," but then if you don't focus on what's in front of you and you just look behind you, you're like, "Oh."
Yeah.
The characters, right? So Namor was brilliant. The only issue,
Namor?
I had is because of the runtime. I was like, I think they could have trimmed some of his stuff. There's a scene in it where a character is given a tour around not Atlantis, whatever you want to call it, and because of the fact it's underwater, and the only thing I'm saying it's not as colourful as James Wang's,
James Wan.
Aquaman. And you're in that scene for like a good 5-10 minutes, and I'm like, you probably could have cut that because it really didn't do much for me.
It's just dim and
It's
annoying,
it's very much like I think for a very accurate way of if you're that far under the water, you're not going to see shit, guys. Like seriously. So there's like bits of that I would trim. I hate how this is used as a backdoor pilot for Ironheart. It feels. Do you know what it feels? I remember discussing I was just thinking this reminds me of really early days CW where it'd be like Arrow,
right?
And then all of a sudden the Flash appears in the episode, and it's like, yeah, I'm this guy. I could have fast powers. But you'd have to come to my show to find out.
Yeah, you'd have to find out what's going to happen here. Yeah,
it's like that because there's a really annoying scene, and if you had to follow discuss it, the conclusion with her character at the end of it is so. Oh, you're in this movie, but you're gonna have your own TV show, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I wouldn't spoil it.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And I also really thought that if you watch this film. And the intro scene to Riri Williams, I believe her name is, you're just like, did somebody just look at that Civil War scene with Peter Parker and Tony Stark and just go, well, we'll just take that screen and we'll take that scene and rewrite it, because honestly, if you put those two scenes side by side, they're pretty similar. Like I would really argue, especially in the dialogue, to which the dialogue I felt was choppy at times.
I know what you mean. It's look, I think a big problem for me, right? A lot of people, a lot of the praise for this film has obviously come with the way they've handled the Chadwick Boseman stuff.
Yeah.
And look, I think, like like you said, Kyle, the opening of this film is tremendous. The opening is fantastic. I thought it was really, really strong and really, really emotionally effective. I think I could say the same for the ending. I think the ending's done quite nicely. And I've seen a lot of reviews actually, and a lot of people's opinion like, oh, you can really feel like that's what this film was about, and you can feel like it was really dedicated to Chadwick and all that stuff. I disagree. I really disagree. I really didn't feel that. I think it's mainly the beginning and the end, and there's little bits sprinkled in where they talk about T'Challa.
sprinkles, I would say. Yeah, you are right.
Yeah, but I think that what is getting in the way here from this being, and I think this is what really should have been the focus of this film, is really should have just been all about that, and a film about grief and dealing with that. And I know, how do you have, action set pieces in a film about that? I was like, that could be done. Look at like tragic Logan is as a film, and that's a film all about loss, and a film about being alone, getting old, and stuff like that. That's tremendous action. So and it's a comic book film. Anyway, that's just a little side note. But this film is so bloated and plot heavy, and it's the Marvel thing again, where it's like, we want to introduce this character, and like you said, the backdoor pilot thing. We want to do this, and we want to have an almost 3-hour runtime, and it's just like, I remember, because when Namor's introduction in this, I think, is really sloppy, actually, and Namor, I think, is decent, but as the introduction's quite...
What, that first scene in
he just kind of shows up, says, do this, bye. And I'm like, right, okay, is this? I guess this is the film now for the rest of the first act.
That's so funny.
We have to do this. I was like, it's just such it's just not a very good, interesting plot, really.
I think, can we, so the idea, obviously vibranium's in the water, which is not really saying if it's if it's just in the water, or if it's exactly beside Namor's...
I assume it's really deep or something. So, because it's interacting with his stuff,
The idea, so this is a story plot, I think this is really spoilery, where the machine's made by Riri Williams, and that's how she comes into it. And Namor wants revenge, and I'm kind of... so their logic is to just kill the scientist. And I'm like... No, because if she makes it so the government, you can bloody hell make sure the government knows how that thing's made inside and out. Like, it's not like the government is...
I think, did they say that in the film, though? Did they go like, oh, actually, only she can make her...
That's
she
such
knows.
a shit line.
I know.
That's such a...
I know.
Who in their right mind... You just made a fucking device that can detect the most valuable material on the world, and the government's gone, nah, we're not going to see how it works. We know you know how it works. We know your child, who's, running around, being Peter Parker, like... can do it. So we won't bother, one, imprisoning you, or two, knowing exactly how this machine works inside and out. And then Namor's like, no, we must kill this scientist, because that's the only way.
Exactly. It just felt really weak for a plot front. I'm like, and I was like, right, immediately, like 20 minutes in, it's like, right, we're done with the Chadwick thing. Let's move on to just doing a really cookie cutter Marvel plot where it's just, well, let's go find this person. Let's save this person. Let's if
you were to ask me how would I restructure this story, because I feel like you're saying, I think there's a lot of there's too many plots in this film, where we have the Chadwick Boseman plotline, we have the Namor plotline, we have the idea of the plantings that Wakanda hasn't actually been kind of living up to its promise. Riri Williams in it. We've got a bunch of things. And what I would have done, right? Hear me out. I would have taken Namor out of this film. I would have taken them out of this film. And I would have had this focus solely on the idea that Wakanda has gone back into hiding following the passing of T'Challa. Because the idea is that in the first film, it was kind of Killmonger who kind of made T'Challa realise that Wakanda should open its doors up to the world. Yeah. And then everybody else, once T'Challa passes, they could have kind of reverted back into hiding and then trying
to their old ways.
And then we could have just focused on these two plots of T'Challa's passing and then the whole idea of opening, whole idea of them actually closing.
With some sort of... Well, I guess you need to have some sort of threat, Kyle. Like, there's your issue there,
Martin Freeman, the biggest threat.
Martin Freeman is the villain now. I would have enjoyed that. He can come into
the that's the issue with these films, is that they
have to be action films.
The villain should be Shuri isolating herself. That should her internal struggles should be the villain. Yeah. We don't need. Yeah.
But it's a blockbuster.
I know this is this is the issue where. Yeah. It's such a unique scenario because they've been put in this unthinkable position where someone so talented and so young has passed away that I do think we needed to do something out of the ordinary.
Yes. I agree. I really
if
think
they
this could have been a really
they could've-
special and different film, but
Do you know what
it's
you could have
not.
done? You could have made one of those Marvel special presentations. You know what they're doing with Werewolf by Midnight? And you could have made a 40, 50-minute shot of everybody just dealing with Chadwick's passing. So then you could...
But
I think
but then there comes the money thing.
I
I
know.
I definitely think
what,
that's definitely worth
yeah,
a feature-length
but
film.
it damages the
But
film
they
by
wouldn't-
cramming it with so many things.
Yeah, but absolutely. And it's just Marvel doing the Marvel thing. And I said this to Gonzalo, and look, I mean, I also I'll quickly throw this out there as well, that I don't really think the action's really well handled at all. It's a big CGI mess at the end.
I think it's better. I think it's better than the first Black Panther's final fight. To be perfectly honest, I
don't think it was very. No, good.
I don't think it's good. I think it was a lot. I think the final fight between the two characters that fight, I think that was actually kind of good, because I think it was a lot kind of heavy hitting, in the sense that one, it was in a bright beach, which I liked. Yeah. It wasn't in a dark tunnel. It wasn't just two CGI characters. It was only one CGI character.
I'm talking about the big battle that's going on that just didn't.
That felt very let's sell some toys. And I just want to state, and I'm going to try and stay around. So the Dora Milaje, they get some upgrades later on in the film, which is one of the ugliest pieces of shit I have ever seen. It genuinely looks worse than a really rubbish Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. suit or something. And
there's another shot that we can't really describe here, but there's another shot where you see them in, like, I guess more of a quote unquote natural setting, although I'm pretty sure it's a green screen behind them as well.
At the right at the end,
where they open a door.
It's so bad. It's so bad. Yeah. The costume department really screwed up, because the Wakanda costumes are always so good, and then that was just god ugly.
That was jarringly. It was really jarring how bad that was, because the rest of the costume design's great. But yeah, I want to say this to you, because I said this to Gonzalo over text, and I was like, look, okay, so that's all the Marvel films done for this year, and that's all the comic book films done for this year. Phase 4 is done, and I said to Gonzalo, I was like, look, this year we got 3 Marvel films, all directed by 3 iconic directors of the comic book genre now, with Taika Waititi, Sam Raimi, and Ryan Coogler, and all 3 of those films were underwhelming to bad. And it's really indicative of where they are as a studio now.
I think
that's quite shocking.
The worst case
that those 3
for me is definitely Multiverse of Madness, because I think it's the worst because there's so much of Sam Raimi's original idea in there, and then it's been producified by Marvel. This film, I think, comes more of the issue of the situation that they were in. I think that's where, and I think the idea of the situation that they're in, but they're wanting to do everything that there was originally in the script, right? But then they had to add on the whole passing, and I think that's what's just bloated this film. For Love and Thunder, I think Taika Waititi just hates doing Marvel films now. Like, I genuinely think he was getting tired in it, and that's why he produced that sort of thing. But I mean, we look at the end of Phase 4 now, and I took it to myself. I was like, how would I rank them? And it took me ages to try. I could probably right now list Phase 1 to 3 like that. I was struggling to remember what the hell was in this phase, because I was
it's all over the place. That's why it's all over the place, really. And I think it's also like, look, okay, the idea of an interconnected universe that Marvel, they started this major trend, and it became such a massive deal.
Really worked
with,
early on.
From Iron Man to Endgame, it was a really cool thing where you're seeing a bunch of different characters and properties and movies and tones all come together in the end, and seeing some of your favorite characters all work together to take down a big threat. And it was iconic cultural zeitgeist stuff. It was a big, moment of the time. But when you get to when you have to start again with like they're doing in Phase 4, really, the gimmick, it becomes a gimmick now. It becomes like we've now seen it before.
Yeah.
So it's not very special anymore. So it's really hard to do it. But they're still really trying. Like like we're saying, introducing Namor, doing Ironheart, doing so much in this film that really should have been a really focused film. Really.
It's exactly the idea you're saying. They're starting again, but we've just had the big purple alien kill half the universe. So it's hard to go back to square one. While you start with a simple man in an iron suit, expanding, and they try and do things with the idea of Shang-Chi and there being a wee bit of magic, but you can't do that when we know what exists out there already. Well, back then you could speculate. You know,
that's a great point. Starting with that Iron Man, like you said, just a man in a suit, a cool little science invention, quite simple. And then slowly expanding your world, expanding the lore, and like, whoa, there's magic, there's this, there's that, there's another thing, there's no time travel and all that until when you get to the end. But now it's got to the point, it's like there's so much where it's like, it's really hard.
You can't show us something that's...
There's so much going on.
I do think you say that's... I mean, we've seen it early on, especially with the Multiverse of Madness fan theories, where when you get a taste of something as mental as Endgame, people are expecting that standard.
And then No Way Home just made it worse, actually. No Way Home doubled down on it.
No Way Home did double down on it. People are expecting that level of like immersiveness and over craziness, and to be honest, I think Marvel are probably paranoid with like Secret Wars that they're going to actually force it to make. I mean, hands down, I'm predicting this right now. Secret Wars will be bad. Because the fact that I think Marvel's going to have to succumb to all these issues where they're going to... I mean, I've already seen reports, and these are people just saying that, like, Kevin Feige's been in contact with every single previous Marvel actor ever, and they want to make it bigger than... They want to make it bigger than Endgame. I actually have no doubt they will try and do it. And I think they will discover that they've finally tipped the bucket. And there's...
I mean, look, I have no... I agree. I think, I think Iron Man and Captain America and Black Widow and all that will be back in that film.
Undoubtedly.
Undoubtedly. Anyway, sorry, kind of got away from ourselves there. Kyle, final score for Black Panther 2.
Right, so my final score is... The issue for my score here is that it's clearly got so much potential, but I just don't think it was executed in the perfect way. For that, I'm gonna give it... I'm gonna give it a 6. For me though, it still actually highly ranks in the Phase 4 Marvel films.
Me too.
It probably is the top if I take away the fan experience of No Way Home. Because No Way Home as a film, as we know, is not actually great, but as a fan experience, it was quite good.
It's pretty nuts.
I'm gonna give. I have to give Wakanda Forever. I'm gonna give it a 6. But with the potential of being like an 8 or a 9. That's what annoys me about this film.
Yeah. Absolutely. I will agree. I will say it's a 6 for me too. It's just, it really, those Chadwick Boseman moments are really, really emotionally effective and really strong. And when the characters are talking about that, and remember when Angela Bassett's doing their big monologue and stuff like that? That's fantastic.
She is really.
Where you really see like how the grief's
I
affected.
really like Duke Williams.
It's just, yes,
he's really good in this film. I really enjoyed him.
And Baku's very good.
He has that one line that
I like this cast of characters. I do. It's just they're all forced into this really trite and just bloated plot that really it's all over the place. But yeah, that will do for our spoiler-free section of Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. It's now time for Kale to transform into Gonthalo for the spoiler-filled section. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, why not subscribe to the Unwanted Opinion YouTube channel? We have new reviews and podcast episodes every single week. So subscribe now and don't miss our unwanted opinions.